Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. One of the big dramas of this Rostermania period has been the words that Sib had to say the other day after getting effectively dropped from the New York Subliners. Now they're called the Cloud9 team. Sib now responds to the claim that he made about the 9-to-9 workday they were doing at the Subliners. He wasn't so impressed with it at the time. He now says, look, respect to the Subliners guys, respect to their culture. The 9 AM to 9 PM days were not necessarily every day. There was more to this story than initially met the eye. But how does this look for Sib as he is searching for a team going into next season? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Some pretty remarkable clips. I mean, this is Shotzzy just absolutely peacing here on the Black Ops 6 beta, which is coming back very shortly indeed. Speaking of the first weekend of the beta, just wanted to look at some more numbers here really. So Dashy was here looking at what his record was. This was Crimsix's, just out of interest. He played a lot of the beta. 1 day, 7 hours, you know, 3.5 win-loss, but I guess when you're partying up, it's going to happen. 2.4 elimination to death ratio. You guys know how it is. 30% accuracy, this type of stuff. Dashy is pretty compelling, I'm not going to lie. Now, he played this probably in like one session, to be honest. Like, he didn't play that much of the beta, but when he did, he played a lot of it. And, well, 3,000 elims, 9 hours played. The 36% accuracy, though, that is actually quite an interesting number to look at, just because it's very high compared to some of the other ARs and even SMGs, just any pro that we have seen. 36, I think, is the highest accuracy percentage that I've seen, which shouldn't be a massive surprise. It is Dashy, but equally on this game, the aim assist does feel weaker than in the past, and certainly at point blank range, it's more challenging to aim and to shoot than it has been for a very long time indeed. So Dashy could be feasting, I think, is one of the conclusions you can potentially draw from this. Couple of other Black Ops 6 related things though. Babylon is a new map coming for the second weekends and is said to be one of the smallest maps in the game. It's basically Shipment but a bit larger. So you can actually see that on the left hand side here that it is pretty much a square with a little bit further outside. That is like similar to that Courtyards map, whatever it was called back in COD 4. Showdown, I think, right, it was called, but that was definitely bigger than this, it seems. So there's just a big trend right now in all the maps being small to medium size, and I guess people have been wondering why. I don't know if this is necessarily that bad for competitive. Like, this is not going to be a viable competitive map, and it's going to be chaos, I'm sure, for 6 versus 6. The best competitive maps tend to be medium-sized. The smaller it gets, the more challenging it gets to have space for the spawns and stuff like that. And there are some large maps that can work well for competitive. It's just interesting, this trend, because back in MW19, many of the maps were pretty massive, right? I mean, Arklov Peak is one example of that, but was still viable for search and destroy, at least in competitive play. However, the trend nowadays seems to be towards tiny maps. I don't know if it's part of this whole TikTok brain rot era, where the feeling from Activision is that, alright, every map is going to be small and fast paced so nobody gets bored. It's constant dopamine hits. You spawn in, you get in a gunfight, you either die, you get a kill, something happens immediately. And I feel like there might be part of that in play as to why we're not getting so many bigger maps anymore. Like, you know, the developers don't want you to just sit in a building and camp anymore, because then you're going to get bored and quit or something, which I don't think is real either. So, yeah, I'm a bit concerned that that's actually what's going on here, and that every map is going to be pretty damn small so that it's chaos. And I don't necessarily want it to be chaos. So the maps are definitely my biggest concern about the game right now, which is always my biggest concern about the game. I was expecting it to be better, really, with Treyarch. I guess there is an argument to be made that, well, in the beta, they're targeting kind of a different audience than the competitive audience, and usually Treyarch are pretty good at aligning with that. So I am hopeful that when the full game launches, we are going to have some more competitive maps, and they also have pretty much said that, you know, some old school maps, maybe Raid again, Hacienda from Black Ops 4 will be coming back. So I don't think the map pool is going to be atrocious, but I'm a bit concerned about it, and I think for understandable reasons. A couple of player cards to go through quickly. This is Lucky, known, let's be real, as being a bit of an onliner in his career, and to be fair, the numbers do kind of back that up again, certainly in the respawn mode. Search and Destroy was still pretty good on LAN, but and really the entire Miami team, like, their record at the start of the season on LAN was atrocious. Lucky stayed around. Lucky, it seems, is going to stay on that roster, which is, you know, a little bit surprising to me, just because I think if you are Miami, you're looking at Rancor, who they've brought in, you're looking at Super, and you might have been then thinking, well, can we upgrade from Lucky on that AR role? Maybe, maybe not. One of the greatest snipers as well to ever pick up the big stick when he was playing back in the day, Black Ops 4, Modern Warfare 19, but the sniper seems to be banned nowadays, so doesn't really have that in the toolbox as well. But it does seem like he's going to get another year in the league on that Miami team. These were Linz's cards as well, so I thought he had a pretty impressive season, and I don't think we've seen the last of him or like the best of him really yet at all, in maybe a similar way to like Joe Thieves on that Gorillas roster. Maybe Rocker weren't that bad, but it is worth thinking about, right, that Gorillas last year with Joe Thieves, Joe looked pretty good, like he was the best player on that roster, right, but he still didn't look anything like he did this year on Thieves, especially towards the end of the season. So I think there's more to come from Linz, really. We saw glimpses of his potential certainly at the start of the year. His Search and Destroy was actually pretty good the entire season long, but then they made the interesting changes, right? Gunless comes in, obviously Standy coming in for Vivid. You know, maybe it's justifiable on some ways, but I just don't think those changes made all that much sense. And, you know, over the course of the season, Linz's performance somewhat regressed, but he was still pretty good. And I do think there's more to come here. And I think there's a general feeling as well that, well, you know, French, young, SMG player, obviously HyDra's out there. Maybe Linz is going to be in that conversation as well at some point relatively shortly. So, you know, he had a solid season. I'm guessing he's going to stay on G2 or Minnesota Rocker. They might put Cobra there. They might build around him. There's been some rumours on that, but of course, in many respects, they are pretty much looking to solidify what's happening in Rostermania on the top teams before some of those other teams get into play. This, of course, is a screenshot there of this Babylon game. Just one confirmation, by the way, that the Jackal has been nerfed. So that is the plan, to tune it down to some degree. So we'll see how much weaker it is for the second weekend of the beta. What other guns are potentially viable? Maybe this Tanto, you know, 22 caliber full auto SMG is going to be equally as strong anyway. I think maybe Cell was using it or something and it looked pretty damn good. So I don't know. They're going to mess with the balancing, and maybe when the game comes out for real, they're going to mess with it again. Because I'm kind of hoping the Jackal is the viable SMG, because I actually really kind of like it, but I don't want it to be like absolutely dominant in that role. We want the guns to be balanced, but you know, and ideally people can choose between multiple guns, but the Jackal is not going to be as good, it seems, for the second weekend. But let's talk about this Sib situation, because it was a big point of controversy over the last couple of days, what he had to say on aBeZy stream, or a few of those guys' streams maybe, but certainly aBeZy stream, on the situation on the Cloud9 roster. He was talking about getting frustrated with the fact that he was having to get up at 9 AM to go and, like, you know, meet up with the team and get ready effectively for their practice that was starting a few hours later, right? Teams like OpTic, teams like FaZe, their practice might start at, let's say it's, I think maybe 1 Eastern is when they start scrims, maybe 1 or 2 Eastern, so Dallas time, that's basically midday. So the teams will get there 11, half 11, you know, maybe grab some food or something, basically talk about what's going on with their practice, what do they want to focus on today, what, you know, maybe watch a bit of VOD from a match or something like that, and then crack on with practice for the next, you know, do a couple of scrim sets. That's going to take many hours of your day, and then, you know, that's basically the day of practice done, maybe a bit of debriefing afterwards or whatever. So Sib basically went on stream and said that because they won the World Championship Subliners the year before, they thought they found this winning formula, and therefore they tried to implement it with him on the team, and he didn't think they really knew what they were doing. He talked about how he was getting up at 9 in the morning to get there with the team, to have like many hours of preparation before practice, and then getting home late in the day as well, and that, you know, understandably seemed like a pretty grueling schedule. Now obviously people are roasting Sib hard, and understandably, I get it, right? People are like, oh, I can't believe this guy's got to get up at 9 AM to do his job. Like, you know, anyone that's done a real job knows that ain't exactly a surprise. But to be fair, I think that if this argument that he was saying was true, that every day they're doing 9 to 9, you know, those are long hours. It's understandable that that's going to be difficult, that's going to be taxing, and you've got other things that you want to take care of outside of the game as well. And is that necessarily a recipe for success? Maybe not. However, the feeling is that this was not exactly an everyday occurrence. This, I think even Sib said, even in the original clip, that it wasn't every day. I think it was only like 1 day a week. I don't know if he actually says that in this clip here, but I'm pretty sure it was like 1 day a week. And the rumor has it that they were getting up at 9 to like hit a team workout together, and that like they would have to be there by 9, hit a team workout, and then do a couple of things before practice or whatever began. So it just felt to me, like it feels to me anyway, that Sib's initial kind of representation of what was actually happening there at Subliners wasn't necessarily what was actually happening there at Subliners. And certainly the initial implication from Sib that those guys didn't really know, you know, how to create a winning culture as a result of this stuff seems a bit misguided, given the fact that they actually have secured a lot of results over the last couple of years.
Yo, chat, man, we gotta clear up these 9-9 rumors, man. 9-9 wasn't every day, bro. Some of it was a drag, you know what I mean? But, you know, we're not complaining here, you know what I'm saying? Like, all respect to New York camp. Guys are godlike.
They were on your ass, Dante.
Yeah, they were on my ass. Like,
these gamers can't wake up at 9 a.m.
They can't wake up at 9 a.m. Like,
but you can wake up at 9 a.m. is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, all the time. Every fucking day. Put me in at 9 a.m. every day.
I think you just need to go more in detail. What you were
more
saying.
in detail,
like,
yeah, more in detail.
Like, you would get there and you wouldn't be the most productive, like, you know?
Yeah. More, just not.
Some days it was.
Yeah, Sunday, yeah. Exactly.
So ReeaL hasn't necessarily given like a specific take on this, but he did quote tweet it. I thought this was pretty funny when me waking the boys up at 9:01 for the 8th day in a row. So, you know, clearly like this wasn't actually what was going on over there. And to be fair to the system they've put together, even though Sib might not think that it was, you know, conducive to their success, they have delivered results, right? I mean, given the situation they've been in, what they got in Vanguard, but certainly in Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, getting to finals, winning championships, like it's felt to me that their kind of coaching staff and their culture and their setup is maybe more professional in many ways and is more kind of attuned to performance and athletic success, if you want to call it that, than many of the other organizations have. And I think that has translated. Sib maybe didn't see that quite. And, you know, I get it as well, and it's difficult to say exactly what it was from that perspective, but, like, clearly the other guys, at least in part, were on board with this idea, and Sib was not so on board with this idea. So, you know, that's why this whole question around, well, Sib was very good this year for the Subliners, which, of course, he was, especially towards the end of the season. That may well be true, but evidently he wasn't fully on board either from a chemistry perspective with the other players, as in, did they vibe as boys, to just, you know, for lack of a better term, which apparently they didn't. But that is not necessarily because, oh, HyDra, Kiz and Skyz are like a really, you know, cliquey set of guys and like Sib's the outsider, as it were. You know, my feeling is it always goes both ways, right? Sib has to be willing to integrate himself as well. Obviously, the coaching staff and the players have a part to play in that. But if Sib wasn't happy with getting up at 9 on, you know, 1 or 2 days a week or whatever to make sure this stuff is happening and the other guys were, then, you know, inevitably in the longer term, that's simply not going to work. So as good as he was, you know, they've made the decision to part ways. The other question, I guess, is, does this affect his future prospects? I don't really think so, to be perfectly honest. I think that he'll, after his performance at the end of the year, still get a good opportunity from a Thieves or a Toronto or something like that. But, you know, will it affect the way that that new team considers, okay, how do we manage Sib? How do we ensure that he's integrated with our system? Like, you know, maybe let's not do a team workout in the early morning with the boys or whatever. I don't know. I don't think it's going to change Sib's prospects, but I think on some level it may make some teams think twice about the way that they're going to try and integrate Sib into their culture. But look, it shouldn't be surprising that Sib's personality doesn't always, you know, come across the best way to some people, right? And, you know, that's been the case for a long time now, but it's just part of his character. It's part of who he is. So very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Just one final quick thing to mention here. Since the inception of the qualifier match in 2021, there are only 6 players that have played every single one of them, right? Many players have missed one for various reasons. Either they were dropped or benched briefly, or I think in the case of Simp, he was unwell for one of the qualifiers back in the Vanguard season. These are the 6 players that have played every single one. Shotzzy, Cellium, aBeZy, Envoy, Priestahh and CleanX. Only 6 of these guys. Is it likely that any of these guys will miss one this season? Well, it's possible, of course. It's pretty unlikely that Shotzzy, Cell, aBeZy, you know, I think that Priestahh, it's possible that, like, you know, he could get benched or he could, something like that could happen with him, I think. The other guys, it's pretty unlikely that, you know, that they should be on a roster the entire year. Whether they play all of their games depends on various factors. But very much interested in your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
Bro,
SD Cochran with a 5 for 6. Welcome
right?
back.
Food court. But you remember how shitty that food court was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting dinner, right, with one of them. Okay. Bro, it's like 8 of us. The bill's like $120. Like, we're talking food court food. And one of them didn't pay for the fucking meal, the team meal.
Ooh,
for $120. I was sitting there like,
wait, so who covered it? You?
Yeah, we split the check
No, you
fucking 8
didn't.
ways.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, we split the check 8 ways because we're like, what the fuck is this?
Right, because they were
what
paying
team?
your shit ass 400K, so they probably thought, hey, he can
On
pay for it.
Subliners. No, dude, I took a huge pay cut.
I'm just messing around.
So, but yeah, we split it eight ways, dude. It was
Nah, that's
insane. To a fucking like multi-millionaires.
You
year was that, Banger?
Like, these
IGDMs
guys
for what,
probably
bro?
make Seth look poor, and and they didn't cover a fucking food court meal, bro. I was sitting there like, what the fuck? I've actually never encountered that, like something like that, you know. But to play devil's advocate here, I mean, at that point
Were you guys dog shit?
We didn't win. We haven't won a map on land the whole fucking year.
Oh, I wouldn't. So that was a spite move, brother. What the hell? I'd say
they're
feed
trying to
yourselves,
teach
you shit fuck. That's what I'd say.